Okay, we're live again. What's happening, everybody? This is your first time watching this show. Thanks for stopping by. If you're in for round two, thanks for coming back. Thing is that live shows are weird. A lot of times, if I try to go on too early, there might be too much traffic, and well, the YouTube's traffic can get a bit congested, and a lot of times live shows get bumped. Weird as it may be. So, anyway, giving it another shot, take two. And I think I'm going to move the live show to 9 or 9:30, somewhere between those 2 hours, just to try to slide in a little bit more of a hospitable traffic zone for the YouTubes. Whoa, hey, okay, here we go. So, all that being said, thanks for stopping by. The topic is the R9 watch. And what exactly is it about the R9 that has so many people captivated? And what is it about the R9 that has so many people captive right now if they've already put in their orders? And I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have put in an order for an R9, have you got it yet? Are you still waiting on it? And or worst case scenario, did your order get canceled? That's another thing that some folks have said that they've either can't. It's kind of hard to really place. Did the order get canceled or did they cancel the order? I think that's really what we're more looking at. So, at any rate, that's basically the topic of the channel, or topic of the channel, the topic of the live show tonight. The channel that I have is me, B Mason, and I'm typically doing motorcycle content on Tuesdays, although I will probably end up moving it to Wednesdays. I have to change the name of it, mainly because the live show keeps getting, well, scrubbed in some kind of way. I think it's happening right now, as a matter of fact. Are we live? Can you hear me? Just now checking in. Go ahead and throw a chat. Let me know that I'm coming in loud and clear. The problem is that I never really know when this flakes out. It looks like we are flaked out now. Unstable signal as it must be. We are live. Hey, Ryan, how am I coming in? Am I here? Am I back? Got Ryan is in on the live chat. And this is my opportunity to interact directly with you guys. So, okay, good. We got a stream back. Excellent. So, anyway, guys, this is my opportunity to interact with you. So if you're interested in getting in on the action, catch us live. Going live now, going to have to be after 9 o'clock Central Standard Time so that we get at least a strong signal, a strong feed, or whatever the case is. So getting back to it, the folks that have the R9s, let me rephrase this. The folks that have the orders in for the R9s, I got to know, what are your feelings towards this bike so far? Are you getting excited yet? Have you got any kind of confirmation on when your contraption is going to make it to the party? I'd love to know all about it. I'd also love to know what got you to buy that bike. Is it the chassis? Is it the what? What is it about the bike? The CP3 engine? This is the weird thing for guys like me who I can appreciate any motorcycle out there. I don't have a leaning necessarily one way or another for brands. It's typically more for me about which bikes fit the best. So that being said, there are a ton of bikes out there, though, that are really good that you might be able to get for a lot less than the R9. Or there's motorcycles out there that will, at least on paper, objectively in that respect, walk all over the R9 from just a horsepower per dollar point of view. So how do you view the R9 overall? What made you make that decision? Ryan's checking in. He says, I think the CF Moto 750 SS that is supposed to be here by the end of the year or beginning of next year will be a direct contender to the R9 and the Gixxer 750, but the 750 SS has a seatbelt. What? I'm not familiar with that. Fill me in on that. Shoot me a link. I'd love to see it. But here's the thing. So, yes, the 750 SS is coming. And we need the 750 SS to get here quickly. The reason why, well, let's move away from the R9 for just a second. Not that I don't want to talk about it more, but we got to talk about the bikes that are out there for the R9 to go up against. The Gixxer 750 is the big one, but everybody always defaults into the R6. And R9 owner will say, well, with camshafts and this and an XSR 900 swing arm and all this other stuff that you would have to do to the R9, it'll beat a Gixxer 750 or it'll beat an R6. Hold on, ain't nobody talking about the Gixxer 750 just yet. So that's the weird thing about it, is that you've got bikes that are out there right now that are already going to give the R9 a fit at about the same price. But if you start sinking a ton of money into the R9, where does the value prop of that R9 really start to go away? Is it you buy it and you leave it stock and you use it as maybe a track day trainer? Maybe this is your first big bike. In other words, it is still a sport bike. So is this your first bike that gets you into the legit 120 plus horsepower range of sport bike like a 600 used to back in the day? Or are you going to really get serious with it? And I think that's really the key takeaway here. Because if you buy an R9 and you want to get the most out of it, the problem is that you're going to be stuck spending so much money on this thing that it is going to no longer be the value proposition that you originally thought that it would be. So let's look at it from this point of view. I don't want to count exhaust, a tune, or an air filter into the cost of any motorcycle that we're talking about. And the reason why, everybody does that. Everybody does that. So if we're not going to talk about, okay, so whatever gains it gets, everybody does that. So that comes with the territory. But the R9 is going to need to be competitive realistically against motorcycles like the R6, the GSXR 600, the Kawasaki 636, which will absolutely give a GSXR 750 all it can handle. To be able to even be talked about in those same circles, you're going to have to go with cams. You're going to have to go with the longer swing arm potentially. You're going to have to go with an airbox mod for sure, if not a full-on airbox. There are a host clip-ons, by the way, possibly rear sets, but I'm not really sold on that. The thing is you're going to have to go into the bank account deep to get that bike where you're going to want it realistically. So how do you justify that on a bike that, I mean, look, CP3 is nothing new to tuners. You're doing really good to get 117 horsepower to the rear tire out of a bike that only turns to 10,500 RPM. Now you might go, well, hey, that's more than, a Gixxer 600. Yeah, sort of, except a Gixxer 600 has another darn near 50% more RPM to play with. So you can 50% more gear it if we're talking about making top speeds the same. And think of all the torque multiplication that comes with it. So already it's starting to, it's a super middleweight. And so you have to give it some level of concession there. That is until GSXR 750 shows up to the party. Here's the problem when you start to bring in, and again, I understand what you're going to say, R9 guy. You're going to talk about the electronic suite, and you're going to talk about the upside, and you're going to talk about the triple. And what, guys, let me give you the all you need speech when it comes to a GSXR 750. It goes like this: air filter, M4 full exhaust, Woolwich quick shifter at a tune, 520 conversion, and drop one tooth up front. And figure out a way to keep the front tire on the ground. That's it. That's it. That is all you need for the GSXR 750. It is practically, by the way, the gearing is optional. It's practically 30 horsepower ahead of the game right out of the box, mind you. Even with a tune, you're looking at, say, 130, so maybe 20 horsepower realistically. You got 20 more horsepower. There is no weight penalty. And by the way, you can't claim torque because the GSXR 750 only makes 5 foot-pounds of torque less than the R9. So, and again, I'm not trying to sell you a GSXR 750. What I'm trying to illustrate for you here is that the R9, as good as it is, and as good as it can be, it's not there yet from the factory. And I feel like there's a certain level of shortchanged that you get with the R9 because you get a host of electronics that I don't think the bike really needs. You get a power output that is, by all accounts, fun, right? It's a fun bike to ride. But every one of the reports that I've seen on this bike, all of the reviews, whether it was the European review or for the North American, every single one of those guys, or at least most of them, if they were being honest, were wrapping that thing off of the rev limiter. And it was, you could tell, kind of getting annoying to these guys. And there's just no over rev built into this engine. And that is a real problem when you're on track. I get it. You can flip the shifter and make it a GP shift. I know. And it comes with the 43 millimeter big forks and all of that. I understand all of that. But guys, it comes with the CP3 engine too. All Yamaha would have needed to do in this case, bump the compression ratio up to, say, 12 to 1, 12.5 to 1, little bit bigger camshafts, and that's it. Now, all of a sudden, you've got the makings for a bike that instead of a 117 horsepower, even let's be generous and call it 120, that you've got, and this is at the flywheel, not at the ground. Now you could have had something more like 135. And that's a major thing to consider. And I get it. A lot of folks are going to say, well, yeah, but then it wouldn't be able to race in the super sport. Guys, let me explain to you something. There is nothing stock about a super stock motorcycle. There are so many things that are different than the bike that you get from Yamaha. I mentioned the swing arm, gearing, air boxes, camshafts, compression ratio, cylinder head gaskets. All of these things are going to be different. And so, yeah, it's limited in power, but it's not limited in torque. And everything Yamaha does to that bike is in an effort to build up all the power under the curve. So it's not the same bike that you're buying. It's not even close to that, as a matter of fact. So I guess for me, I look at it like this. I know that, and just like with any YouTube channel, there's always a drive and a push, to have the latest thing and to get the, to get something new and to do a build and to do all of that kind of stuff for the channel. And at first, I really wanted to get an R9. And the reason why I really wanted to get an R9 is because, well, to me, I felt like Yamaha built the Daytona that Triumph wasn't going to build. I own an old school Daytona, and I like riding that bike more than I probably should. It's torquey. It's fun. It's got a red line of 10,500 RPM. That's the same as the R9. It's a sport bike. Well, that's the same as the R9. It's 30 years old, not brand new. That's not like the R9. But it's a sport bike. It's a triple. It makes roughly the same power with a little bit more torque, but it's not even worth talking about. Guys, I kind of already got an R9 in my 1998 Triumph Daytona. And I can tell you it's going to be an amazing motorcycle to ride, but my Daytona suffers from all of the same pitfalls that, well, I should say my triple 955 has all of the same issues that the CP3 engine does, where it just, after peak power, immediate drop off. And keep in mind, my bike doesn't have any rider aids. And the CP3, when it's tuned, still suffers from the same ailment. But with camshafts and all the rest of the fixins, you would hope, maybe expect, I should say, that the CP3 will be able to pull through and be a great bike. And that's what I thought too. But the more I started to look into it, the more it looked like that bike was never going to make it to the party. And unfortunately, the more I dove into the bike to figure out what all was going to be needed to really bring the most out of that motorcycle in general, I figured pretty quickly that it was going to go from about a $12,500 motorcycle to about a $16,000 motorcycle, just with everything you would need to do. Now, that does include the exhaust and some tuning, but it's just one of those things where you look at the bike and you go, man, I am just not a player for that bike. Again, having to put XSR 900 swing arm on it, needing to go with, it would practically be mandatory. Like I would have to buy the bike, get the cams, bump up the compression with a shorter cylinder head gasket. And there would be so much to getting that bike to a point that, well, the bike that I'm looking at for the channel now is already at. And because of that, I debated and went back and forth, and I just felt like I was hitting my head against a wall with the R9. I just couldn't see myself pulling the trigger on it, even though I thought that it would be good for the channel. Now it's a situation where I wouldn't be able to get my hands on one for, damn, it looks like 6 to 8 months. And that's a bit of an issue, especially when you want to try to make content on a motorcycle. So what's left? What bikes are out there that would make sense from a dollars and cents point of view? Well, when you start looking at motorcycles from a dollars and cents point of view, it's not necessarily, well, you ain't buying these things to try to get rich, right? But when you're running a YouTube channel that's based around motorcycles, you do need to keep it fresh. Now, I'm not getting rid of the GSXR 1000. That bike is sticking around for a while. It's probably my favorite motorcycle that I've ever owned. And it's the bike that if I'm going to go for a ride, I'm grabbing the keys more for the Thou than I am even the T120, if you can believe that. But for me, I'm a sport bike guy at heart. There are other motorcycles out there that I like, but I've got to look at it from the other end of the transaction. I've got to look at it from the resellability, from the desirability standpoint. Who are people going to, chime in and want to take a look at? What is it that folks are going to want to see when it comes to bikes? And it's just like anything else. It's a numbers game. You almost have to look at it like which motorcycle sells the most, and so I've been diving deep into the different bikes that are out there, and I may have landed on one. It only is going to, if only I can get my hands on one, I might be pulling the trigger on a bike soon. Let me catch up with you guys though. Oh, Ryan. Yeah, I wonder if the seatbelt thing, I've heard of that. I don't know how that works with those. I'd love to see how that looks and how that works. Sam said we need to bring back Kickstarters. You know what's funny? The original Goldwing had a Kickstarter, optional. It came in the toolkit. Ryan saying the CF Moto 750 SS has 110 at the flywheel. The R9 only has 10 more horsepower for double the cost. It's actually not even 10. It's like 7. And that might be an optimistic number. DM saying, welcome back, y'all. Skid saying the live's looking good. Yeah, guys. Oh, yeah. We're going to have to start going live at like 9:15 ish at the earliest. That's the window that I can get into YouTube for live shows. It's way too hard to go earlier for the show any sooner than really honest to goodness, man, like 9:15 or so. And I guess the feed or whatever doesn't work out. So anyway, there's that. So yeah, new time for the show. We're just going to go back to the old format of like between 9 and 9:30. But getting back to it, the R9 for the channel would have done great. But again, I was not interested in spending all of the money that it was going to take for an R9 only to get a bike that I am afraid, and this is one of the big things that I wanted to talk to you guys about with the R9. The issue that I think I would run into is, number one, buyer's remorse, which is, I think, an issue that a lot of R9 buyers are going to bump into. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put out any negativity, but I will say this. I've ridden quite a few bikes lately, and there are some bikes that I can tell you it's like they're height weight proportionate when it comes to power. If you ever hear me say, man, this bike is right there in that click, it's right in the slot for power to weight ratio for what it is, it means that I didn't expect it to have any worse than this. And I'm surprised that it's as good as it is. Like, it feels good to ride. I think the problem with the R9 is that guys are going to get on this bike. They're going to sit on it. It's going to feel a certain way, but it's not going to get down the road the way that the looks would have you believe that it should. It's not going to have any top end rush. It's going to have a power output a lot like a GSX 8R. Even though the GSX 8R is making significantly less power, it's not always making significantly less power. It's just going to feel like a GSX 8R with a bunch of over rev. How do you know that? Because it's a CP3 and CP3s exist. So that's how. It's one of those strange things that you get a weird feeling for. And that's another thing. I just did not want to get shackled with an R9. Also, only to have to try to sell the thing. And I don't feel like the reviews were strong enough on the R9 to actually warrant buying it, trying to get content with it, and then end up having that bike kind of clowned a little bit on, with folks saying, I can't believe it's only putting down 130 after you put in cams, smaller head gasket, 520 conversion, and the whole bit that you would do to it. And that's if I wouldn't even put down that much. It would probably be more like 125, 130 if you're lucky. So that's the reason why not the R9. It's would the bike be desirable if I went to sell it later on? Would that motorcycle be worth, would it be worth buying, modifying, and then letting go, knowing that I'm only going to make content with it? I don't know. But, I do have a GSX-R 1000 though, that I do like a lot. It is in its 25th year of production. So again, happy birthday, GSX-R 1000. I don't know why that's not being marketed by Suzuki. Silly that they're not. But you know what? There is a bike that's out there that is also celebrating a birthday. There's actually two, well, sort of, but there's definitely one for sure. And if I can get my hands on the one that I want, which I will be making this phone call tomorrow, if I can get my hands on the one that I actually truly want, then I will be pulling the trigger on a new bike for the channel. So happy that Skid said the live's looking good, because I was going to get pissed. Like, not pissed, but just like, come on, YouTube, help me out. Skid saying, Ryan, was it Chrissy has his Nightster 975 120 wheel, a pretty stout pipe tune, intake upgrades, of course, a sick bike. Dude, that is, I kind of like the 975, man. I just, God, if they only made, oh my gosh, Harley Davidson, dude, make the freaking Bronx, make the Street Fighter and make the Bronx, please. With new leadership, come on now, you got to. Oh, Sam. Okay, so yeah, talking about the horsepower standards for the bikes. You know, it's kind of funny. The reason why you don't see the American market bikes, really any of the Jap bikes, you'll see other manufacturers and other country bikes will have a horsepower rating. The funny thing about it though is that every country, they're rated almost like gross horsepower. It is gross horsepower, but it's not, because it still has it still has the cat and everything else on it, but they're rating it with the de-restricted tune from the European market. And that's one of the frustration parts of having a motorcycle, is that they are rated from the point of view of the European market. And there's nothing, it has nothing to do with emissions. It's noise pollution. That's the whole reason why the way that the Americans measure power and the way that the Europeans measure, noise, and the way that the Europeans measure noise, Americans do it at full power in a different gear. And so that's why you always see that weird trailing off. Oh, it's just a mess. Ryan saying, are you getting a Gixxer 750? Would that be any good for the channel? Would a Gixxer 750 do any good for the channel? Do good for the soul, I can tell you that. Skids, I am very pro noise pollution. Sam saying the new CVO is impressive. Yes, the 121 with the VVT is a great motor. I am and will test ride one soon. I hope. I really want to test ride a Road Glide CVO ST. Dude, I tell you what, Skids, I used to kind of shit on Harley Davidson a little bit until I rode the Street Glide. And now I'm such a big fan of that bike that it's ridiculous. And again, I'll just so you guys know, when I did that ride review on the Street Glide, when I got back with that bike, I told David, the sales manager over at Stubbs Harley Davidson, I said, dude, I don't know what you're going to have me or give me an opportunity to ride. I am so thankful that, you guys work with me, but I don't know if you're going to be able to top that. I get it that more power is always more better, but that 117 in the Street Glide with the running boards and just that bike that I rode, man, I don't know. Me and that bike, that was a pretty good one. Skid saying the Pan Am, talk about the Harley Davidson Pan America ST is basically a disguised Street Fighter. Seriously, it is. It is, and it's a really good bike, man. The Pan America. Okay, so I recently rode, and I've got to do this all backwards. As a matter of fact, I have to redo 2 videos. So get a load of this, guys. I did the ride and review on the Hayabusa, and I did it on the Tiger 1200. Unfortunately, my camera, the chin mount, the adhesive flopped over. And so basically I was filming my crotch while I was riding the 1200, and I didn't realize it, but it was flopping around. And what had happened was I had to hit the brakes on the way to the dealership. My helmet was in the passenger seat. It went flying forward. The helmet hit the camera rather hit the dash. I didn't think anything of it. Well, it ended up, it messed with that little adhesive pad. And so I did the Tiger 1200, got it exported, which is just to say that I got it off the camera and onto my phone so I could upload it. And then I rode the Hayabusa, and I did the Hayabusa, and about halfway through the first leg of that thing, I noticed the camera go like this. And I went, oh shit. And I had to grab it. So I had to ride the Busa home, or not home. I had to ride the Busa back to the dealership. Really like that bike, by the way. and but holding on to my camera because I didn't have a safety tether on it. So anyway, I've got a new rig. I'm going to be redoing. It looks like I'll be redoing the Hayabusa and the Tiger 1200, and there might be another bike mixed in there. We'll see. I'm still working on that. But the Pan Am ST is really good. Skids right along OnlyFans edition. Yeah, almost. And here's the messed up part. Objectively speaking, the Tiger 1200 video was a really good video. Like the flow of it was good. I just was having fun with the bike. And whenever I'm having fun, it's pretty easy to tell in the videos. Obviously, if I'm having fun, the videos flow nice and I'm just kind of enjoying the ride and telling you what it's like to ride. And the Tiger 1200 was legitimately fun. The Hayabusa ride was even better than that. Like I started out that video just absolutely enamored with the Suzuki Hayabusa. But it's not really a bike that I would love to have one, but there's just not a lot that I think that I could do with that bike realistically. If I were to put it in the stable, mainly because of the cost of the thing. And I'm not one to say, spend money here or do whatever. It's one of those things where the cost of these things does start to come into play at some point. Ryan, tell us about the Busa. Okay, so here's the thing. So the Hayabusa is one of the few bikes that I've actually asked, because I never ask how much these bikes are. I always know about a range. I don't really I'll talk about money if it's a value prop, right? So let's say, for example, like the R9, it's a lot of bike for the money, right? Or the Hornet. I mean, it's promoted as a lot of bike for the money. But hold please. First responders. Let's go ahead and pull over. I don't know how loud that is for you guys, but it is like right here. So anyway, getting back to it, I'll talk about price if it goes along with the story arc, right, of the bike. I'll put it to you like this. I got back and immediately asked how much the Hayabusa was that I was riding. I took it out of used inventory and I just said, man, look, I like this bike a lot. It might not be ultimately my cup of tea, but for you guys that are looking for a Hayabusa that are out there, give Hunter a shout over at Stubbs. There are 3 used bikes in stock right now. I don't know if I'm going to end up riding one more time the bike that I rode. There's a white one that's got a full Yoshi system on it. It's dropped. It's a badass. There's the all gray one that I rode, and then there's the bike that I'm a little bit curious about, which is the black and gold paint job, the 2022. And that bike is all stock. There's nothing done to it, not even a windscreen. It's got a new set of R22s, not really the right tire, at least in my opinion, for that bike. But anyway, not that I'm just saying, I liked the Hayabusa so much that it did pique my interest. Like if I were to buy a bike that I was just going to do miles on, the hyper touring thing, because of what I'm used to, and because I really am not cruiser guy, right? I've tried it. Don't get me wrong. I love the Bird, but if I've got to get rid of a bike to get another bike, the Bird's going to be the one that goes. And, but if I were to get something that I wanted to consume a lot of miles with, that Hayabusa was comfortable. It's a lot like riding my Daytona because it's got a long stretch to the bars. It's got a kind of a lower seating position. So you're a bit more spread out over the bike, which is something that I'm very used to with a bike that I already have. very old school, got the big analog clocks up front. I like that bike a lot, but that's not why we're here. Okay. All the fluff, screw that. What's it like to ride, right? Man, dude, the bike is fast without being fast. What do I mean by that? Okay, so the Hayabusa only revs, realistically, that bike only revs to about 10,000 RPM, 10.5 really, is where you're going to find maybe peak power, between 10 and 10.5. It's got an extremely accessible power band. And so you just roll into the throttle and you're always in the power band. I mean, this thing is a 1350 cc engine too, right? So it's not like it's not making a ton of power all the time, but there's a part, and unfortunately this part, you know, what's funny is that this video, there's a part of me, I'd like to post it because part of it's actually pretty good and just clip it. But I start off and I go to this one point, I make the U-turn, I'm coming back, and I'm fanning through the gears. And what's weird is the rate of acceleration under partial throttle is what will get your attention. And I actually was floating the front tire in a right-hander. I'm on the gas and I'm just kind of humming along, and you would see that the bike would just get a little bit of a head shake. And of course, a head shake, my first inclination is roll into the throttle. And it's not head shaking because anything's wrong. That bikes do that anyway. It's that cute little, hey guy, hey buddy, what are you doing? You know, it's like doing the puppy thing. But it's just so, and it just this wafting you to 100 and something D5 miles an hour. But the point is this, it's so smooth and so just matter of fact about how it makes power. You'll hear me say that in the video. It's just so, how do I say it? It's just so, again, it's just so matter of fact with how it puts down power that you don't realize some of the speeds that you're going. Even if you're used to riding a leader class bike, it's so smooth and it's so, like you're sitting in the bike more, you're not really on top of it. You just don't get the sense of speed because you're not taxing any part of the bike. You are doing what the purpose is of that bike. A Gixxer Thau is meant to go really fast to get you to the next turn. A Hayabusa is meant to go really fast. And that's it. Right? Like it's the handling, it'll still handle. It is a motorcycle after all. It's sport bike, but it is so smooth and so buttery and so just like you're picking up a pencil. There is no franticness about it. It's just like a matter of course of doing business. It's kind of crazy, man. Anyway, I can't really put it into better terms than that because it's something that you just have to, you have to expect coming. And I will say this, I'm glad I got a chance to ride one because that's been a bit of a bucket list bike for me. And I get why people love that bike. And look, if you ever see, you know, nowadays, if you see a Hayabusa roll racing, a Gixxer Thau or an R1 or whatever, the Hayabusa never wins the top end race. But the Hayabusa always puts 2 or 3 bike links on one of those things until the other one can play catch up. And that's just the product of torque. That's where the Hayabusa really comes into play. That gives you the best idea. It's just so much tip in and initial throttle response with that bike that you would be forgiven if you thought that it was much faster than what it really is. Ryan says it's a very gentlemanly way of making power. It really is. It's just it's like you're sipping your drink and you're just like shoving something out of your way. There's no franticness. It's almost like there's not a sense of urgency to do something urgently. Does that make sense? I think that's the best way I can put that. Let's see, we get back to you guys. She's saying Ryan needs to go ride a GSXR though. Then after that, do the Busa back to back. The Boost is good. Boost is really good. And here's the funny thing. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that'll go, ZX14 makes more power and it, whatever. Guys, at this level, for what you're doing with these bikes, it doesn't matter. I'm just being honest with you. The Busa, I think, makes more power through the mid-range than the ZX14 does. But who cares? These are both big motor, big hyper touring bikes, hyper sport bikes. They're both ridiculously fast, and they both will get you to stupid miles per hours very quickly, without a doubt. Skid saying, buddy his in the club rides a Road Glide and a Busa. He's got it right. I love that. Skid saying, if you got some good footage, just do the good part immediately. Facebook, your thoughts at the end. I don't have the chops on editing to do that, at least not yet. And unfortunately, I actually caught it at a weird spot, so there's not really all that compelling. I need to go back and take a look at it to see what it looks like. I just know what it felt like and what I was doing. And initially, I went back to take a look, and everything looked fine until I caught what was going on. So we'll see. Skid saying, I'm such a torque simp when it comes to bikes, like horsepower, love torque. Yeah. DM saying, 1.25 inch bar risers work great on a Busa. I tell you what, they do. And I've heard of guys that, they daily Busas. I've heard of guys that, use Hayabusas as touring bikes. So definitely cool stuff there. Terminator says, that's why I love my 1700 VMAX. Dude, VMAX is a badass bike. Ryan saying Busa was the poster on the wall in the barracks. I believe it. That's an awesome bike. DM saying Busa torque seductive. Dude, I'm telling you, the crazy thing about the Hayabusa is that at no time did I ever feel like that bike was gonna get. I'm used to. You've seen the videos of me and the Gixxer, right? I that's what I'm used to. I'm used to a GSX-R 1000. So the Hayabusa was kind of cool for me because you do sit more in it, and there's a lot going on with the Hayabusa for sure. But I don't know. I don't know what that 22. I think it's a 22. I don't know how many miles are on it. But of the bikes that are there, like I say, there's 3 Hayabusas in used inventory right now. Again, it's white and electric blue, which is, there's a lot going on with that bike. Full exhaust. I'm sure it's got a tune. What the hell just flew up my face? There's a lot going on with that bike, but there's something with me in black and gold, man. I don't know. I haven't ridden the black and gold bike, but I did ride the gray bike, and I can tell you that it is a lot of. It was an eye-opening experience only because of how good of an experience it was. And I get it. I understand now why, guys, even guys that, know they're not going to win the race, they're still going to run the Busa because it's the freaking Busa. Besides, let's be real. You don't buy the Busa because you're going to leave it stock. You buy the Busa because it's a blank canvas that you can make into something. And, damn, dude. What's not to love about, 110 foot-pounds of torque to the rear tire once you, or close to it anyway, once you start throwing some mods to it. It's good saying VMAX OG Muscle Cruiser. They're awesome bikes. Amazing machines. The newer VMAX is crazy. I can't believe that bike only has a 5-speed. But yeah, that's a beast of a machine too. But yeah, guys, we will see. I will be having a chat with some folks tomorrow. And I don't want to leave anybody hanging. So about to wrap it up here in just a second. The bike that I would want for the channel, if I do another bike anytime real soon, would be a GSX-R 750. And the reason why I would do a GSXR 750 is because, man, it's the granddaddy of the sport bike class. It's the bike that I've got the most experience with. It's the bike that, if I'll put it to you like this, it's almost the bike that if I would have been smart, maybe I would have got the GSXR 750 instead of my GSXR 1000, except I wouldn't trade my GSXR 1000 now for a 750. It's just still that good. The DM saying a lot of meat left on the Busa bone. Cam it, full system, air filter, tune, and enjoy. You know, the thing is that it's funny how good that bike was to ride. And again, I get it. I get why so many people love those motorcycles, man. So for me, I don't know that I'd be able to I don't know that I would be able to do what I would want to do with one of those bikes realistically, because for me, I would want to do drop, full system, extended swing arm, get the thing to the drag strip, and, learn how to drag race a motorcycle. But the problem is that there's no drag strips that are anywhere super close to here. And, for me, it just turns into a bit of a headache making something like that work, especially considering that it's a Busa. So, it's going to be an expensive build. So for me, again, one of the bikes that are on the top of the list, if I can find the exact one that I want, would be a GSXR 750. I thought about doing a GSXR 600. The only downside to the 600 is that it's not a GSXR 750. So Ryan saying we crowdfund beat a drag race of Busa. I tell you what, man, if I had the time resources, I wouldn't mind getting into that. It's just that to do it and to do it right means that I would have to carve up a Busa pretty good to get a ton of weight out of the thing. And then I would want to get competitive. And then I'm going, okay, what's the record? And I get into that. And unfortunately with bikes, weight really does play a pretty big factor. And I am not a lightweight guy. So, for me, it would just be trying to pull some numbers out of the thing. And I don't know that would be, my most racing content doesn't really do that well. It's really more like the ride and reviews and the bikes that are a lot more relatable to folks. And with that being said, the Gixxer 750 is easily one of Suzuki's all-time best selling bikes right now. They sell every one that they make, which is why me finding the one that I want is going to be kind of tough. I should have bought it when I saw it. This is one of those things. Anyway, but that being said, I think I can make a pretty strong case for the GSXR 750. Skid's talking about that 111 cubic inch Evo. Oh, I love the Evos, dude. The SNS motors for sure, dude. I had a neighbor that had it was kind of a custom job. I don't know what it was built off. It was an SNS 104 though, big cam motor. And that thing sounded amazing. Ryan, yeah. And here's the thing about the 750. Okay. So getting back to, the bikes and the whys behind the bikes, guys, the GSXR 750 and the GSXR 1000 have some of the strongest resale values that are out there. So if I decided I wanted to move on from that project, pick up something else or whatever, it's an easy play. Termy saying 750 is a good bike, but the 1000 is better. I agree. I do like my 1000. I like I say, I wouldn't get rid of my 1000 to get one. I love the thing for me, the GSXR 750 for me is a nostalgia play. It is to me a retro bike. There is nothing about that motorcycle that is modern era. I say what you will, but I love the sound of it. And one thing I failed to mention in my ride review of that bike is that it sounds like a carbureted bike when you get on it, with the way that it makes noise through that airbox. there's a lot of theater that comes with the GSXR 750 that I do find very endearing. So, I think that it would be more fun to do a 750 build. Again, it's, the routine. It's going to be full M4, no velocity stacks, though. I'm going to leave the stock velocity stacks if I go this route. Tune filter, 520, go down one in the front for the sprockets, and hell, even if I even do that, and that'd be it. And that way, I mean, it would be a fun bike. And it would be a bike that I could do quite a bit of content with. That, I mean, it's not like I can't do that same content with the Gixxer Thou, but the 750, it's like when I was doing all the car content, the GSXR 750 is a lot more relatable bike to a lot of guys than the Gixxer 1000. And I understand that completely. I mean, R1, Gixxer Thou, CBR, almost said CBR 900, CBR 1000, ZX10, those are great bikes, but a lot of guys, it's really hard to relate to bikes that you only see going 195 miles an hour. A lot of guys like to see the twisty stuff too, but they want to see themselves going through the turns and stuff like that. So what I will probably do, if I can find the Gixxer 750 that I'm looking for, that's the one where you would see a lot more riding videos done on that bike. So that's the whole reason for a bike like that. Not that I can't do that with the Gixxer Thou. I can. It's just that, again, I don't know that there's going to be a lot of looking for that content, but what I may do is just start doing more content with that bike in that respect too. We'll see how that goes. Skids is checking out. Good seeing you, buddy. And yeah, with that, guys, I do need to wrap it up. I've lost track of time here because this is a part 2. Hey, listen, if you made it this far, thank you very much for hanging out with me. Appreciate that a ton. So here's the thing. Live shows, they're going to have to go on between 9 and 9:30 moving forward, just because I guess that's how the feeds and all of that work with YouTube. Just makes it a lot easier to have a stable feed. So between 9 and 9:30 for the live shows. I'll keep you posted on if I'm going to end up even getting another bike for the channel. We'll see. But with that, guys, that's a wrap. Listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, we'll get out of here. Take care, guys.